Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. This is another paid request, this time for Shawn. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any review, topic, reaction, commentary, tier list, randomness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal, which is the best bet usually, or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box, down below. And Shawn wanted me to do a commentary on the 1993 film Jurassic Park, which I guess made sense because we're getting to the 30th anniversary of it. So I'll pause the beginning. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As we got the old Universal logo. 1993, what a crazy great year for movies. Because for me, I got Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Cliffhanger and Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone. I think you got The Fugitive with Harrison Ford, Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. A lot of good movies that year, 1993. But this was the biggest. I think people thought Last Action Hero, Arnold's follow-up to Terminator 2, biggest movie star, but then no one. Jurassic Park, which originally James Cameron wanted to do it, and his idea was going to be more like Aliens, but then Steven Spielberg got the job and based it on the Michael Crichton novel, which I never read the novel, but I do know there's some differences. For example, Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, I think Ian Malcolm got killed in that. And also Richard Attenborough as Hammond. He was much more of a bad guy. Here we have the character Muldoon. And sort of this build-up of, we see this, we know something's up, but we'll show you the goods later. Not show everything in the first 5 minutes. We just show how dangerous they are. And in a way, these become our main villains by the second act of the movie. I mean, the T-Rex is dangerous and he has his moments, but really becomes the raptors that's chasing them, because the raptors. And dinosaur movies, I mean, by this point, I can't really think of a lot of big dinosaur films in the 80s now that I think about it. Once in a while they'd be featured in a movie, My Science Project, for example. I'm not talking about Godzilla, but I mean like dinosaur movies. They kind of fell by the wayside in the 80s. I'm sure there are some, but it's like they don't pop up. Nothing like stands out that I could think of. But then when you get into the early 90s, you have Carnosaur, which obviously inspired by this film. And then that got its own franchise, Carnosaur 2, Carnosaur 3. You had Raptor with Eric Roberts that stole footage from the Carnosaur movies. Of course, this poor sumbitch. And you have that coming up, Shooter! Coming up, Shooter! With the way the camera's swirling, again, we don't get a look at the raptor, except those close-ups, those eyes. Nicely done practical effects with those close-ups. Shooter! Shooter! A way of showing death scene, but still keeping its PG-13 rating. Because see, like the book, the way it's described, is much more of an R-rated material, and I think James Cameron would have done that, but that just wasn't the case. The Amber Mine, Dominican Republic. I know I've seen this. I've seen both these actors in other movies, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they were. But I know I've seen them in other stuff. I think Hammond, with the kind of money he has, $20 million probably ain't much. Well, of course there'd be safety problems with the park. It's goddamn dinosaurs, not Barney. There's danger in regular amusement parks, let alone, the pirates don't eat the tourists, as Malcolm would say. Now, I saw this film back in the day. It was taped on a VHS tape, and always liked it, always enjoyed it. I always thought it was a good movie. It's not one of those films I rewatch over and over again, but it's a very solid film. It's well cast. Because Grant's like me. He's a digger. Or they didn't say, good thing that was with a D and not with an N. That'd be a different movie, different rating. And that's sort of a. Well, yeah, I guess they're still digging up that stuff to find more blood of these dinosaurs to make more clones, have more of a population. But yeah, I've always been a fan of the movie. I don't think it needed a franchise. The second one, I remember seeing the theater when it came out, the second movie, and it's like I want to like it more because, hey, Jeff Goldblum is the star, Steven Spielberg is a sequel to this film. The third act is kind of fun, T-Rex in the city, but just I have a lot of issues with the film. The third one, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I think it's a brisk 80-minute decent adventure with some nice brought-to-door effects. I see Sam Neill again. I always liked Sam Neill. I know he was going through health troubles. It seems like he's getting better, which is nice. Always liked Sam Neill. Really enjoyed him. Enjoyed him in the movie In the Mouth of Madness. This film, Event Horizon, among others. And then you have, oh, what's her name? How do I not remember her damn name? How do I not remember her damn name? God, I'm so bad with names. Cannot remember her damn name. T1 call her character name. Which I think her mom starred in Carnosaur. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. Laura Dern? Was that her name? Laura Dern? If I'm wrong, I apologize. At least I'm bad with names. No, that kid I know, he was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. He was the kid who was Lisa Wilcox's son. You know, the one that puked on Freddy at the end. Because I know he has a familiar face. He has just that certain face. And of course, this begins a little bit of a, I don't want to say development, but I guess you could kind of say that, where he's not really, doesn't know how to talk with kids. Thinks maybe him and her will have kids one day, as she says, well, not that kid, but perhaps a kid. And then him trying to deal with kids and learn how to do it with the two kids later on. Of course, the thing with dinosaurs nowadays, there's a lot of people that say dinosaurs never existed, they were never here, it's all some big ploy to make money. And I'm like, these guys barely make fucking money. I know people think this is like multi-billion-dollar scam, but I don't know, you look at how some of these people live, it doesn't look like they make a lot of money. Now, maybe the dinosaurs haven't looked exactly like they do in the movies because we don't have a camera, and no one went back in time to take pictures. Some say maybe they have feathers and stuff, but with all these fossils, there's definitely some kind of creatures that lived back in the day. There have been enough of them with the skulls. I'm like, what do you think these skulls are? Shits and giggles? They're made of bone? You think so? Said, let's make bone. Where do you think they get the bone from? Let's get a bunch of animal bones and then let's melt them and then reform them and then make them seem like. I mean, that seems like a lot more fucking work. But I'm sorry, if you're someone that says dinosaurs never existed in any way, shape, or form, again, if you're saying that maybe they don't look exactly like this, yeah, that's understandable. Again, some say that maybe they really had feathers and they're more like birds and whatever. Okay, that's understandable, but to say none at all, ever, I can't take you seriously. You get mad at me all you want, you get pissy at me all you want, but I can't take you fucking seriously. I can't. Yeah, apparently in the novel, this is very different. This character, like in the novel, he's much more of a, like I said, much more of a bad guy, not so much as the sweet grandpa character in this. But Richard Attenborough does a great job, so I don't mind the change at all. I mean, I never read the novel, so I have no give a shit this one way or the other. Is that toilet paper? Why is it like all these wads of toilet paper? There's like toilet paper right by the desk on the left. There's toilet paper at the front of the camera. They try to tell us something. This movie ain't taking any shit from anybody. Just like toilet paper everywhere. I mean, of course they use it, but you think, how about Kleenex tissues instead of toilet paper? When they not want to use like Kleenex tissues, like for whatever they're using the toilet paper for, other than to wipe their ass. But it's like, I never noticed it. Like just sort of these random bouts of toilet paper. TP for the T-Rex's bunhole. I was saying before, I don't think you needed to have a franchise. With this movie, you just didn't. You didn't. It's one of those things where there's only so many times with the dinosaurs where it gets redundant, and like anything, if it was done well enough, of course, anything could last forever if it's done well enough. But just like Jurassic World was like a lame remake of this film, even to the point you having two kids in a vehicle and a dinosaur crashing through the roof of the vehicle, and they're narrowly blocking it with this one little thin sheet in between. Stuff that like that, it's like, come on, guys. I think that really sparked a lot of this sequel, but it's a remake. Because that, how much money that movie made, then you had Star Wars The Force Awakens, you had Halloween 2018, you had all these films that are sequels, but then they do a lot of the original to make you remember and remember them berries and all that stuff. And I think that film definitely helped usher that in. Oh, we have Dotson, who becomes the main villain in Jurassic World. What the fuck was that movie called? I reviewed it. I don't remember what the hell it was called. Dominion. Dotson. We got Dotson here. Now, apparently this guy here, this actor in the red who plays Dodson, he's a real scumbag. and thus why it's a different actor playing in the new one. But apparently this guy is a real scumbag on the left here. Now on the right, as Ned, we got Wayne Knight, I believe his name. I think he was on Seinfeld from time to time. I also remember him as Michael Jordan's agent in Space Jam. Yeah, he's pretty much Michael Jordan's agent who tries to go in for the big game and gets completely flattened, and they have to pump him up, and he balloons up. And White Knight does a good job playing that weasel character that just screws everything up, messes everything up for greed, and you're just glad to see him get his comeuppance. And here's Jeff Goldblum, which I do think this is the of playing this character. This is his best portrayal of this character. It was nice to see him in the Lost World. That's why I was a bit disappointed because he has more screen time, but then I don't know, the movie itself just. I've seen much worse movies and much worse sequels, to be fair. It just, I don't know. Bits of it that just bugged me. I just like the way he's messing with Hammond. And him trying to be smooth. I refuse to believe that you are familiar with the concept of attraction. I bring scientists, you bring a rock star. And like I said, in the book, his character gets killed off. Here, he gets injured, and then sadly, he's sidetracked from most of the film. Like, most of the film is pretty much lying on his back and just talking for walkie-talkie. That's why, that's one issue, one nitpick, I'll say, nitpick. I wish Malcolm had more to do in this one. But yeah, I guess that's what they wanted to make up for in the sequel. But like I said, this you could easily say was a one and done movie. Lightning struck, you didn't need any more. Same with like Jaws. Like I like Jaws 3, just like I like Jurassic Park 3. But did you need sequels? No. Like I said, lightning struck once. It's hard for it to strike again. When it's done so fairly well, then it's hard to replicate it. And these nice little moments here to show a bit of that humanity and humility and humor. Great shot. Helicopter coming down by this waterfall. And that's another thing. This was 1993, so yes, there's CGI used, but there's a lot that was done for real in camera with the help of Stan Winston. With like shots like this, like that's a great shot. Nowadays, it'd be like a CGI helicopter coming down, or a CGI waterfall, or both CGI, and you could tell because there's something a bit that's just doesn't quite look right. Because even reality isn't as clear as some of the CGI stuff. I always thought that design of Jurassic Park is a really cool logo. And it made sense for them to have this. It'd be part of their marketing team where if this is successful, it'd be like Disney World, sell t-shirts, lunch boxes, all sorts of stuff to market it. I like the line that comes up. Who you have in there, King Kong? Now, granted, there's still a part of me that will love to have seen James Cameron's version. I really do, because I love action and horror, and like that still needs to happen one day. But you need a company and a director that, mainly a company and the budget to really take a risk and a chance. And sadly, more than likely, even what they do, the film will probably bomb because sadly that happens. Dread. Someone took a chance and made that and did a good job, and sadly the film bombed. But it's like, and you know, of course, you want to make money so that you're staying in business and you're not getting fired. But I still love to see that big budget, R-rated action, shooting dinosaurs and blowing their heads up and everything in between. I think there was a scene cut where you actually. I think there was a bit where I'm trying to think if there was a like she has that leaf. I keep thinking there was a bit cut where we see her pick that leaf up. Could be wrong. Maybe I was looking down and we missed it. And that's the thing. Once you like see this stuff here, is trying to enlist a sense of awe and wonder, so the audience and the characters are in the same frame of mind. They're in the same boat. Jeff Goldblum's a lot of good. I've always been a fan of Jeff Goldblum ever since seeing the Fly remake, and he was in later on Independence Day. See, I think after this he was in Hideaway, that film based on a novel by Dean Koontz, I believe. To be perfectly honest, what they should have done, if they were smart, is just bring back the herbivores. And that's what they should have done. Like, if someone was a Hammond in real life and had this idea, this ability, just bring back the plant eaters, or the ones you thought were plant eaters. That alone will garner you a fortune. You still call Jurassic Park. There's a variety of creatures, as you see in this shot here. That right there, you know, for people to see this front and center, there you go. There's your fortune right there. That's all you had to do. I'd be remiss to not mention, you know, John Williams' score. John Williams fit perfectly with Spielberg. Jaws, Indiana Jones films, this movie, they were just very in sync and brought some of the great scores of all time, honestly. And they do a decent amount of job, you know, building up either the quirks of the characters, or of course this universe, this idea that they're showcasing in this movie. Also, you know, the whole idea of this park. Or if you don't, I mean, again, if they just didn't make a T Rex and they didn't make the Raptors, like I would say, don't even make the Raptors. Like the T Rex, you know, that'd be a big problem. Just don't make the Raptors. Just don't make the fun. Like I don't know why you would make the Raptors to begin with. I really don't. So, I guess is Hammond gonna try to do this in every time he does this? Like to have these lines for the audience? Like it's just for this meeting, but then seems like a lot of work to put into just for these, 3 or 4 people. But I mean, the actual video itself does definitely look like an infomercial. Like Walt Disney would do this kind of thing, which is the whole purpose. I'm sure these guys are like, would we talk to like kids? Do we have to fucking do this? But of course, is you have to make an exposition for the audience to show how did this all come about. So you're in again the eyes of the you're in the eyes of these characters. We're learning it just like they're learning it. I remember cloning. There was a big piece of it in the news when remember back in the day they cloned that sheep. Nothing's really. I don't know if anything's really come of that. Like I don't. You don't really hear any of that anymore about cloning. I'm not saying there's nothing being done with it. I'm just saying you never hear about it anymore. Sorry if I'm having a snack here. I said, okay, you get the blood or the dino DNA. It's another thing to actually be able to clone it. Thinking machines, supercomputers. Like that's the best they have. Now it's important to note the whole fraud thing because then you find out like how are they asexual, how are they reproducing thanks to the DNA of the frogs. Auto animatronic. Where the hell is your mind at to think of autoerotica? Shit. I don't know why you would think these adults would give a shit about being in a ride. Like, I get it for the audience, but not for them. Oh, it was a BD1. Who'd have thought that this guy would be such a important character later on? Which is like one of the big main thrusts of the plots in the new trilogy of Jurassic Park movies. Jurassic World, I mean. Now, BD1 I remember from films like the very underrated Dolph Lundgren film, Men of War, among others. This is where you get the baby raptor. Like I said, this is still neat to look at with the animatronic work and Stan Winston work. This still looks cool. Because you can't get more real than real. I see as sexist. You engineer them all as females. How come not males, huh? BD1, you sexist? No, I'm just kidding. Jeff Goldblum's good as like having these big long sentences just run in this certain rhythm that he showcases to be his unique self. Life will find a way, as it, yeah. He turns out to be right. I don't blame Sam Neill, Alan Grant's serious look. He's like, you dumb fuck, why the fuck are you breeding these? Which is a good question. Like, of all the, like, if they had not bred these, like, if these would have been a lot more calmer. Such a stupid, idiotic thing. I guess the way they would look at it nowadays is, let's say 10,000 years later, right? We're all gone, and whatever new species is around. And then they find lion DNA, jaguar DNA, wolf DNA. Then do you just go, let's bring back the plant eaters of today and just no cats because they eat meat, or at least no, like, or I should say no lions, no bears. Will they say no? We're not going to do that. Cheetah speed. They run as fast as a cheetah. They can jump high as shit. So interesting that there were eight of them and they killed all but two, as if this is the two that I can control. Or it's like, I don't want them to turn on me, so if that happens, I could deal with two instead of eight or whatever. I didn't. By the way, yeah, there's three raptors, just like. They didn't think about it, just like fucking Chris Pratt controls three raptors, right, in Jurassic World? Shit. Listen, I'd be hyped that there'd be dinosaurs, but I'm not. I would not pay $10,000. Coupon day, yeah. Pay $5,000 instead of 10,000. See, I love Jeff Goldblum because he's right. Everything he's saying is right. And that's why I'm glad, like, Jeff Goldblum, he's saying, the correct things. It's like a kid got his dad's gun. And this quote can be used to a lot of things. You read what others have done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourself, so you don't take any responsibility for it. Still on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, but you even knew what you had it. You patented it, packaged it, you slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. And especially this quote here. You tend to were so people whether or not they could, they didn't have to think if they should. Dinosaurs had their shot. That's true. You have plants in this building that are poisonous. They all have good points. Sorry, I've just listened to it. Obviously, they ain't gonna sign off on your shit, Hammond. Now, I know the little girl, she's Ariana Richards. I want to say that's her name. She had been in a few films before this. She was in Tremors. She was the one of the kids in Tremors. I think she was one on the pogo stick that Kevin Bacon had to save. And then she was also in this film called Spaced Invaders, where it's the Martians here, the Orson Welles broadcast War of the Worlds, so they think it's an invasion. So they go to Earth, and they find out that it was just a show. So they realize, oh shit, no one else is here. It's just us. So the Martians are trying to find their way off the planet. It's called Spaced Invaders from 1990, 91, 91, 92, somewhere around there. And this kid was it Joseph Mazzello, something like that. Can't remember what else he's done after this. These two kids were making a little cameo appearance in the Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. I was surprised they did not get them into these new Jurassic World films. I am surprised because they're really hone in on nostalgia. They got the other people. They have BD Wan, you got Dodson. Not the actor, but the character. So I am shocked that they didn't have these two in it. I am shocked. And we got Samuel L. Jackson. Right in the middle, smoking it up. Showing a bit of his, I think his bald spot. Which, hey, I know how that goes, Sam. I know how that goes. Hold on to your butts. That's crazy. You look at Sam Jackson, you just look at the amount of films he's done, like from Coming to America, where he was the robber, to working with Spike Lee, to working with Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction, which came out after this, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Then, he was in Star Wars, there's the Star Wars prequels, he's been in the Avengers, in the Marvel Universe, he was in a Tarzan movie, he was in a King Kong movie, Kong Skull Island. Yeah, there's the King Kong line. Speaking of which, and of course his own films, Snakes on a Plane, among others. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I did like the idea that you don't see these dinosaurs. That doesn't seem like it'd be okay. Now we don't show off our effects. We want to show off our effects. There's this dinosaur. There's this dinosaur. This dinosaur. But what rule? What? How to put it? What certainty do you have that the dinosaurs would be right there? It's like I guess they didn't think that through. They did not think that through. Major theme park and a major zoo, all the problems and glitches on them. Fucking Nedley, man. Fucking Ned. What a fucking fat piece of shit character. Not the actor, but that fucking character, man. But it's also teasing the audience, like, again, the anticipation of when we're going to see these, and we're going to have this big reveal sometime. Not yet, though, not yet. So give that again, little suspenseful tease for people. I know you're waiting to see it. Just hang out with us a little bit longer. Of course, they have that great line coming up with, again, Jeff Goldblum steals the show. I'll wait for when it comes up. I know because it's Hammond in a chair and you see the computer screen and then Jeff Goldblum goes up to the screen. Not yet. God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. Dinosaurs eat man. Women inherit earth. Sound like a feminist. You a feminist, Ellie? We'll try to tempt the Rex. Again, this is kind of a stupid thinking on the part. Like, okay, there's going to be a bunch of kids. You even say they're your target demographic. So you think a bunch of kids would be like, hey, kids, watch this goat get eaten and bit in half and torn apart. Get ready, kids. What's next? You have a tour of Africa or something. Hey, kids, come over here. Watch this lion rip the zebra's throat. Makes a lot. That doesn't make any damn sense when you think about, hey, kids, get ready to get some gore and get ripped apart. I think here is coming up with here it is. This is one of my favorite bits. Now, eventually, you do plan to have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right? Hello? I love that smile too, like he knows he's just poking the bear and fuck with him. See, I think like I wish the sequel was Sam Neill and Ian Malcolm, because it would have been nice to see more of these two who have such differing attitudes, different acting styles, different philosophies, but having to work together. So it would be interesting, like, okay, the second one, you don't have Laura Dern to kind of keep him at ease, so now it could be antagonistic, but then also buddy buddy, and eventually, and all this stuff. Him just, like, you see how he keeps trying to touch her, like, he was touching her hair, and it's like, hey. Try to be a bit of a smooth operator. See, now it's just holding his hand, her hand. I get what you're doing, man. I get what you're doing. Talk about flirting with a capital flirting. see, see, right. Nobody could have predicted that Ryan would suddenly jump out of a moving vehicle. See, there's another example. And now I'm by myself, talking to myself. See, that's chaos there. That's another stupid thing. Like, why would you not have locking mechanisms in the vehicles? You know how many fucking kids would be like, you open the door, just because they don't know what the fuck they're doing, they're too stupid? Like, this is just a shit park before the fucking Ned shit. You don't lock the fucking vehicles, so people just wander out like this. It's such a stupid asinine. And then, hey kids, we're gonna get the T-Rex for you. Watch this goat be pulled apart. Gore, vor and gore and vor. This is a poorly fucking thought out goddamn park. If you want to know what to do with his phone, I don't want to look up information on the film. It's like, yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. This is a really cool effect. The Triceratops. And you don't really get to see him much in action until the second film, which it is. I mean, not only because this film made a lot of money, but another reason, in hopes of doing a sequel, is to show more of the dinosaurs you didn't get to show before. But then, even then, it still became sort of the raptors, and also, well, actually, the finale became more the T Rex show. We're raptors on the island, and T Rex in the city. As they will show a little bit of the Triceratops, actually in action. Now they reference this in the Jurassic World Dominion, where she sees like another like Triceratops, like a baby one, and she gets so, because it's her favorite, so she gets entranced by it. Which I could deal with because it shows that, hey, it's still part of her character. So I could deal with that type of reference because it's part of the character, and there's a lot of worse offenders. Yeah, nice effects of making that thing breathe and all that. Probably a lot more simple than you would think. But sorry, just answering someone. Of course, one big pile of shit. Which that meme, I mean, that has been used in a lot to describe a lot of the sequels, a lot of other movies, just being one big pile of shit. You, was like says, why? You will remember to wash your hands before you eat anything. Exactly. Yeah. If she doesn't, she'll give a new meaning to shit eating grin. But, sorry, that's always the thing when doing these is that, real life stuff pops up and you have to answer it. It's always one of those things. But, okay, now that that's done, let me look at. Because you have to find other ways to separate the characters, thus, this is why Laura Dern separated. And yeah, it is Laura Dern. So let me look at these other actors. Bob Peck played Muldoon. Sadly, he passed away in 1999. He was only 53 years old. That's too bad. Who played the Game Warden? Schulte. He passed away in 1999. Yeah, it's too bad. It's way too young. And see, what did he do after this? Smell a Sense of Snow, Surviving Picasso, The Miracle Maker, 2000 released. After his death, he was a voice. Nothing really big or noticeable. Oh, Dean Cundy, who worked with John Carpenter a lot. He was the cinematographer of The Thing and what was it? The Halloween 2, The Thing, Psycho 2, Back to the Future, Big Trouble in Little China, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Cinematographer for a lot of big movies. But the lawyer is played by Martin Ferrero. Oh yeah, he played the informant Izzy on Miami Vice. That's right. Oh yeah, he was one of the motel clerks in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. The guy who's the lawyer here. Uh, Oster, Stallone film he was in. After this, he was in Get Shorty. He was a construction clerk in Heat, Gods and Monsters, Airbud, World Pup. Okay. Huh. See, Joseph Mazzello. Oh yeah, he was in The River Wild with Meryl Streep. That was after this film. Star Kid. I forgot about that fucking movie, Star Kid. God, I forgot about that movie. 1997 Star Kid. Uh, G.I. Joe Retaliation. He played the character Mouse, which I didn't even remember him in that. Oh, and Bohemian Rhapsody. He was the character John Deacon. Bohemian Rhapsody. The okay. See here, Wayne Knight. What else has he done since then? Yeah, Seinfeld, Third Rock from the Sun. Let's see. Yeah, Stan, the agent in Space Jam. He was in. He was a voice in Tarzan, voice in Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, the direct-to-video movie. He was a voice, small voice in Kung Fu Panda. Oh yeah, he played Microchip in that Punisher Warzone movie, which I know sadly Ray Stevenson passed away, who was the star of that. But yeah, he played Microchip in that. That's right. The guy who had the guns and stuff for the Punisher. Darby and the Dead was the last film he was in so far, 2022. So before Crichton's novel was published, four studios put in bids for its film rights. With the backing of Universal Studios, Spielberg acquired the rights for $1.5 million before its publication in 1990. David Cope wrote the final draft, which left out much of the novel's exposition and violence, numerous changes to the characters. Filming took place in California and Hawaii from August to November 1992. Post-production lasted until May 1993. Supervised by Spielberg in Poland as he filmed Schindler's List. Yeah, because both of them came out. So you had the blockbuster Jurassic Park, and you had the award, you know, winning movie Schindler's List. Extensive $65 million marketing campaign was backed behind it. Licensing deals with over 100 companies. Made $914 million worldwide in its original run. Was the highest grossing film at that time. And the record was held until Titanic's 1997 release. Won over 20 awards, including 3 Academy Awards for its technical achievements in visual effects and sound design. Let's see. He looked into the differences. Hammond went from being a ruthless businessman to a kindly old man. because Spielberg identified with Hammond's obsession with showmanship. He also switched the characters to Tim and Lex. In the book, Tim is age 11 and interested in computers, and Lex is only 7 or 8 and interested in sports. Spielberg did this because he wanted to work with the younger Joseph Mazzillo and allowed him to introduce the subplot of Lex's adolescent crush on Grant. Changed Grant's relationship with the children, made him hostile to them initially to allow for more character development. For budgetary reasons, the writer cut the T-Rex chasing Grant and the children down a river before being tranquilized by Muldoon. Also, the compies attacked a young child at the beginning of the film because he found it too horrific, but he put that in the second film. William Hurt, may he rest in peace, was originally offered the role of Alan Grant but turned it down without reading the script. Which I find hilarious. I mean, rest in peace, William Hurt, but then you went on to do Lost in Space. Harrison Ford was offered the role of Grant before Sam Neill was ultimately cast, 3 or 4 weeks before filming began. Jim Terry auditioned for the role of Ian Malcolm. Jim Terry was terrific, but I think pretty quickly we all loved the idea of Jeff Goldblum. Laura Dern was Spielberg's first choice for a role of Ellie Sattler, but other people like Robin Wright, Juliette Binoche, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Helen Hunt auditioned for it. Christina Ricci auditioned for the role of Lex before Ariana Richards, back there with the hat, got it. Sean Connery was considered for the role of John Hammond before Richard Attenborough was chosen. Cameron Thor, who played Dodgson, charged 2009 with the assault of a 13-year-old girl by the LA County Sheriff's Department. 14 counts against this guy, including kidnapping and assault on a minor of this kind. In 2015, 13 of the charges against him have been dropped. The only remaining charge was performing on a child. Sentenced to 6 years in state prison, and he was released in 2019. Well, there it all. Well, there goes the goat. There's the goat. You shit out of luck with that goat. That goat ain't having it. 'Cause he dead. He dead as fuck. He dead as fuck. When you gotta go, you gotta go, yeah. The reveal of the T-Rex. And the CGI doesn't look that bad for 1993. And then when you see the practical, but the CGI doesn't look too bad. It really doesn't. For 1993, it really doesn't. But I love the mix of the with the practical, because the practical especially holds up very well. And you do tell I do tell like that's practical right there, right above them, and then move into the digital. So that's a nice little switch. We see a bit of the practical, leave out of the frame, then we go into the digital. We see the up close. God, the up close shots of these T Rexes are fantastic. Smooth movements. And the blinking of the eyes. I mean, Stan Winston had a bit of previous experience, of course, the eyeball gag. Previous experience with the Alien Queen and Aliens, but here, yeah, I love what they did with the eyeball, the light, and you see the pupil dilate. Bits there that give more the appearance of being alive. And that still looks fantastic. Just aim it down, for fuck's sake. There you go. Which this scene was redone in Jurassic World. Almost beat for fucking beat. But here I love that it's in the rain and it's in the dark in the rain. So it gives a bit more of a. I mean, they could have not had it rain. I mean, I know there's in the script about a storm. But I mean, they could have easily just not had it, but there's more of a aesthetic to it. And you see those kids right at the bottom there. Showcase them still in the car. Yeah, like 1,000 pamphlets. Burying the thing that you need the most. That's a great shot. I think one of the best shots in the movie is that roar. Because like I just still tell the difference. Like this is digital with the way it moves, but that shot where roared. Like I said, I think in this bit here in the book, again he got killed. And when you first watch it, you think, "Oh no, he got killed," and then no. There you go. I guess in a way, what anyone wants to do to a lawyer, I guarantee you that's a bit of it as well. In the writing of the script, whatever, what anyone want to do to a lawyer. I don't know if there's ever. I don't think there was a movie before that had the whole thing with the if you move, you can't be seen. I mean, if you move, you see. If you don't move, you can't be seen. I don't think I can't think of one before it. Now, of course, I mean, they just wanted to have that for the movie. I'm sure there are experts that find the idea ridiculous, but it's a movie. Again, who knows? I do believe dinosaurs existed, but who knows what all they entail with. Like, who's to say this is what a T Rex looked like? A T Rex could look like a fucking. I don't know. Who knows what kind of. Which is assume as scales and stuff of that nature, but who's to say? Like I said, some people say it's feathers, other shit. So they just ratchet up the adventure factor. They don't make it right in the nick of time. It's always got to be the nick of time. If you have a bomb and it clocks down, there's always got to be like 2 seconds or 1 or 3 seconds left. Usually 1 or 2 seconds. Which, yeah, it's cliche, but at the same time, it's kind of almost like the unwritten rule to doing this kind of stuff. Oh, only 2 million, sure. And back in the day when you could smoke even a PG-13 film, nowadays it's like you can't even smoke in an R-rated film. I mean, I would assume you can, but it's just you just don't really see it. I mean, I'm sure there are, to be fair, like direct-to-video stuff, of course, streaming, but I can't remember the last big theatrical film that did. Well, of course, you think of theatrical films nowadays. There's a lot of, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of superhero movies. Like, okay, would you think they would have someone smoking in like Jurassic World? No, they want to have that featured in there. Ned, you idiot. But yeah, I know it's part of the plot of the storm, but I do like that being included. Because I mean, it's anytime you're writing a script, you can always find other ways where this or that or this, are the reasons for this thing happening. But the fact, the storm idea, I like the aesthetic of it all. Has a brings certain mood to it. All this downpour, because I guarantee it makes it a lot harder to work with all this rain around. Because think about where the water goes, you probably have to drain it at some point. Where do you drain it? How do you drain it? You know, a lot of times, especially when it's a set, and you have the sprinklers going on, and yeah, make sure the actors aren't too cold so that they get a cold and they're sick and all that jazz. Same with the people running the equipment. Of course, you're running equipment and there's rain and wet. You don't want to get electrocuted, all that shit. Uh, One of my favorite dinosaur designs, even back then, you know, there were experts saying, well, these creatures never existed and this is a dinosaur they completely made up for the movie. There were no dinosaurs that would spit like this, and I know they brought that back in Jurassic World Dominion, but I like I can't help it. I love the design, and now you know why Dr. Grant and Ellie were so excited to see these. Because I like it has almost like a, not a mohawk, but taco shell. It's got a taco shell on his head. Of butterflies. He's got a big old butterfly on his head. And done properly, you tell because the way the rain is bouncing off of him and such, and how you do this so that it doesn't soak into the animatronic and gets busted up and stops working. But it's in the scene. You can tell it's in the same. I love that bit there. The with the quills, however you want to put it. I love that design. It's almost like making a noise of a snake, a rattler, and then you have this spitter. Sadly, this is the only time it's in the film, and you never see them again. Would have been nice to see Dr. Alan Grant and others, see these creatures. There you go. By the way, didn't they kill Dodson in the Dominion? Was that who killed Dodson? Because wasn't something like he said those are my favorites, and then, of course, ironically, those are the ones that kill him? I think so. I could be wrong on that. Damn. How the fuck you get up there? God damn it. There you go. Sorry about that. How to answer this. Alright. Talk about being in a shit situation. Like, what the hell were you doing this? Like, you've been thrown around by a T-Rex in a car like a damn cat toy, just bobble around. Then you fall off a little cliff in a car, get stuck in a tree. Later on, he gets electrocuted. All this other shit that happens. It'd be like, man, if you didn't have bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. Oh shit. To quote Malcolm, much go faster. Much must go faster, must go faster. Yeah, we need to get the fuck out of here. Like, now. Now, 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 now. Oh shit. Thank God all these branchers are slowing it down that much. But again, you have to make it, nick of time. And imagine it felt differently. Boom, game over. Never see them again. Credits. I don't know, maybe look at the big hole in the fucking fence. Just saying. There's like a big giant hole in the fence right behind you. Maybe look in there. Maybe look in there. Please chance it. Sorry, again, Jeff Goldblum just had the right lines, the right delivery. Then maybe once again that lightning in the bottle that can't quite get replicated later on in other Jurassic Park films. At least you know they're alive. I'll be right back as well. Sorry about that. I had to get some stuff done, so I wasn't playing with my phone all the time. But I am paused at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 57 seconds on the shot of Jeff Goldblum And this is when he's about ready to hear the footsteps. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Opens his eyes. And oh shit. This is a nice little Spielberg type of touch where you see the reflection in Ian Malcolm's reflection in the water, in this footprint, and you just hear these footsteps. Pretty much talking to himself, but he's pretty much talking to the audience as well. I think because they couldn't have that T-Rex chasing the water, they had this scene here, which works very well. Definitely a scene people remember. And of course the line, must go faster, must go faster. Which I think he does that line also in Independence Day as well, at the end, with him and Will Smith. And they're being chased. Oh shit. Real quickly with the Lost World, that was always kind of a weird, not conundrum, but weird. I forget the word I'm thinking of, but weird choice in his filmography and the fact of he had never done a sequel. You looked at his career, Spielberg. Well, that's not true. What am I talking about? Indiana Jones, the prequel, and then Last Crusade. What am I talking about? He has done it. But maybe it's very rare, I should say. It's very rare for him to do a sequel to one of his films. Indiana Jones trilogy, well, quadrilogy actually now. Fuck the fifth one. The fifth one doesn't count. Spielberg's not directing it, and the movie looks like shit, so. But it's one of those things where I guess what my point was that it's very rare for him, so you would think he would do it. It'd be something he felt particularly special about. I think there was talks maybe a different person directing the sequel, but then ultimately he decided to do it. And to be honest, it's kind of looked at as one of Spielberg's lesser efforts, The Lost World. Like I said, compared to a lot of sequels, especially a lot of films nowadays, I don't know if I'd be harsh on The Lost World now that I was back then, but at the same time, it's like I still have this it could have been better mentality with it. You know, I don't really care for the girl doing gymnastics on raptors. It feels like there's a lot of slow spots in that film. While here, it feels like it keeps going where I think it helps where you're with Sam Neill and these kids, and they're a good little unit. While you have Laura Dern, who's very cheerful and likable. You got Jeff Goldblum, who's very funny. So, in The Lost World, just there's some good, capable actors. Pete Postlewaite, for example, but they're just not given much. I don't know. Feel that they're not given as much to work with as maybe they should have. I think like The Lost World is kind of. It felt like there weren't enough there for the sequel in terms of Okay, it's another island that looks similar to this island. Okay, there's no park, but even for the most part, it's just a lot of times you see the trees and the jungle type setting anyway. And even Malcolm, because of the situation, because one involves a woman that he loved, one involves his daughter. He has to be a bit more serious. He still has his jokey, snarky side, but at times he still has to be a bit more serious. And uh, I don't know. I would think more people prefer the way Ian Malcolm is in this movie compared to like the second one. He had a little bit of that Jurassic World Dominion, but he just wasn't in it a lot. As much as of a nostalgia bait it would be, Jurassic World Dominion I think would have been a lot more interesting if it was the main three characters and them working together from this movie and just starred them. And you take away all the shit about the locusts. Maybe it could have been a dumb, over the top fun bit, but hell, they could have been the stars of Jurassic World if you want to do that. Where the three of them arrive because they want to protest this and they think it's a bad idea and no one will listen to them, but they're there to protest it, try to fight against it. They think they're in the safety of the business sector of that park, but then things go haywire. I mean, maybe Ian Malcolm's daughter or someone else is working and defying their dad or something else to that effect. I don't know. The film had a lot of issues, but if it starred the main three, at least that could have helped a bit. And Laura Dern does a good job, and sadly, she didn't really do much after this. You didn't really see her in a lot of stuff. That's kind of a funny thing when you look at some of these movies that became such huge blockbusters, and it's still a lottery pick of who has a successful career and who doesn't. I mean, what makes it so that Harrison Ford, after Star Wars, gets all these big movies and was one of the biggest movie stars with Indiana Jones and The Fugitive and Witness and all these movies. But then Mark Hamill doesn't really get anything for the rest of the 80s that people remember. Even the 90s until voicing Joker. Same with this. Like, Jeff Goldblum had a little bit with getting Independence Day and others because he's like, oh, he's in this film, then he's in Independence Day, and then he's going to be in the sequel, and then blah blah blah. A lot of times these big movies come out, but then they either get pigeonholed or they get stereotyped or they're just kind of. I love the look of that creature. I love the practical effects on that as well. It looks so good with the eyes, the way they're blinking. It just gives such a more of that illusion of being a breathing animal. Doesn't feel stiff. Doesn't feel phony. Then the sneeze. So there's the notion of her being a hacker, which will be utilized later. Which that wouldn't be the only film in 1993 that would have a little girl that was a hacker. Because you have RoboCop 3 as well, which had the little girl hacking into the Ed 209 and making it loyal as a puppy. Although that was done a lot better in this movie. And Ian Malcolm was right. Life finds a way. Fraud DNA, amphibian was part of the DNA linked up. And sometimes they didn't change their sexes. At least that's what he says here. I don't know why he's smelling the egg. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Did you tell the bit like he's smelling the egg? Like, what does that have? Well, what's that going to tell you? There was something in here. That weird, that pose. It's like Jack from Titanic's going to draw. And Ned is dead, baby. Ned is dead. It's one of those scenes I always forget that Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, I don't forget that he's in it, but each time I see him, I'm like, oh shit. It's like, oh shit, it's Sam. Sam the man. They almost can't manufacture the amino acid. Unless they're completely supplied with lysine by us, they slip into a coma and die. I don't know if you ever hear anyone asking Sam about working on Jurassic Park. I mean, people do a lot of interviews about stuff with him, but I don't know if they've ever. If you ever, I mean, I'm sure you can find it online, but a lot of times he goes on these talk shows. I don't know if a lot of people really ask him about Jurassic Park. Hold on to your butts. I mean, I guess, what else, what more is he going to say? Well, I was in a couple rooms, I'm smoking cigarettes, and I say, hold on to your butts. That's pretty much what he gets to do. Smoking a shitload of cigarettes, and he gets eaten off screen. Then Deep Blue Sea, he gets eaten on screen. As they say on a plane, he kills the ones trying to eat him. So it's like this is weird, like full circle thing. He goes from being eaten off screen to being eaten on screen to I'm tired of these motherfuckers on this motherfucking plane, and I'm going to eat them instead, or kill them and chop them or zap them or whatever the fuck, shoot them, and then maybe eat them. In the uncut version, I don't know. Just, in a way, that is kind of signifying his career. He's a guy in a small role, he's eating off screen. Then he's the big star, but he's, oh my god, you think he's going to be any longer, big surprise. Then he gets to be the star of his own film doing this. You mean carnivores, Lex? No, they just run really fucking fast. They look like ostriches. Which I'm sure they're the movement. I would bet the movements of these are based on ostriches, which are no joke. I mean, ostriches are no joke. Literally, because of their speed and with all the muscle they have in their legs, if they go up and kick you, it's like a car hit your chest and you'll die. There have been instances where an ostrich will kick someone one time and caves their chest in, the ribcage, and they fucking die. That's why, like, I saw this ostrich farmer where they raise them. In order to move them, they have to put like a hood. They have to grab them and put their head down so that they can't lift their legs up because their head's down, and then tie like a little sack over their head, so that in a weird way you think that make them less calm, but I guess in a way it makes in a weird way it makes them more calm because they can't see you coming towards them, or can't see you while you're guiding them. Yeah, but John, Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down. The pirates don't eat the tourists. And also because they have in a weird way, they have such a limited cast. Thus, when someone does die, it creates a bit of a, I don't want to say emotional effect. Maybe that's too big to of a thing, but the how many people died in Jurassic World in the park, and it's like, I don't know who that person is. I don't know who that person is. I don't know who that person is. That poor lady got pulled up by pterodactyls and then torn apart, and then fucking swallowed and shit. All I go is, wow, that poor lady. I didn't know who the hell that was. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's great to have Jeff Goldblum in the film, but it's just throughout the second half of the film, he just really doesn't have much to do. He comes in there with a fun one liner, like the Pirates of the Caribbean line, and then back up again. Oh shit, they got out. Now it makes you wonder if they should have not have shut the power off in the first place. Could just held up, and wait for everyone to get back. And yeah, rest in peace, this guy. He did a good job. Like right there, you buy into this oh shit fear in his eyes. He's trying to keep her calm. He knows he's up shit creek. But Sal, he ain't gonna last. Yeah, it tries to have a little bit of a horror vibe, just like Jaws being a horror film. So now you got the Raptors in place. No, you don't, Hammond. That's why she gets lost later. Let Ian Malcolm do it. Ah, the 10,000 volts. So you have the suspense. I mean, you guys know what the hell I'm talking about. You guys seen the film. And if you think about not counting stuff like Godzilla, this seems of the past 30 years, this seems to be like the only dinosaur type of films that were successful. That's a hell of a joke to play. Hell of a joke to play, damn. You really think you could put your head in there? Here, Ian Mepton's finally had enough. I'm trying to think of like what other dinosaur films have come out. Mainly they kind of been put into Sci-Fi Channel type of stuff, SYFY, Dino Shark, or Dino Octopus, whatever the fuck it is, and nothing else in between. I mean, there's that film 65 with Adam Driver that I've heard nothing but dwindling mediocre things. A Sound of Thunder, which that film dealt with that, but then there's a lot of problems. For one, it's not even really a completely finished film. You tell that the effects aren't finished, and there's a lot of problems, issues, flooding. Uh, Peter Hyams directed that, but I would love to hear the backstory on that film fully. I'm trying to think, like, the Carnosaur films I mentioned. I do like Carnosaur 2 and 3. I hope they get a Blu-ray one day. I know at one point Bill Olsen, before he passed away from Co-Red, was going to do he said he was going to do a Carnosaur 2 Blu-ray. That never came about. And Carnosaur 3 would be cool as well. I don't like the first Carnosaur. That one can stay where the hell it's staying at. But yeah, Carnosaur 2 and 3 would be nice to get on Blu-ray. But anyway, like I said, I'm sitting there going, what other like big dinosaur movies? I mean, there's the anime film Dinosaur from 2000. There's been stuff like that. Remember, we're back at Dinosaur Story, like some animated films. Live action wise, I mean, I guess you had Theodore Rex. All remember that cinema classic. Tammy and the T Rex. Which I can't remember that came out before or after this. Which had a very young Paul Walker in it. Damn, he just shot the shit. And just ain't his day. From Turmoil to Jubilation later on. We're back to business. I just shot and fried a kid. Good. That was a potential jump scare for the audience. Now, how the hell this arm fell? Where did it fall from? I don't know, but damn. Now, I keep mentioning Stan Winston's workman did a great job. So there's Raptor 1 that's in there. And don't forget about Muldoon. There were 3 Raptors, one's in there, so where do you think the other 2 are? Well, you get the line, clever girl. Yeah, they are clever, because they fucking tricked your ass. I wonder if a shotgun blast would kill that thing. Just, I guess I would assume so, because I mean it's just that like it's armor that they have. Give me the explosive shell automatic machine gun. Here we go. Surprise, motherfucker. Clever girl. Yeah, quite get it. Then, how much or how little you can show and still maintain the PG-13 rating. I know my friend Afri, he's not a big fan of this film. And I do like the film, so I guess in essence I disagree, but I get his point as well. His point is he wants to see the James Cameron version. I get that. I would love to see like the Dino Crisis video game if that was turned into a movie. That would be great. Full blown art. Like if Carnosaur 3 had a budget. I like Carnosaur 3. It's low budget. The effects are practical, but they're not high tech. But they did what they could with the low budget. I like Carnosaur 2 and 3. Carnosaur 3 is my favorite of those. But yeah, if you took that type of film and you make it like a big budget affair, bloody R rated, I think a lot of people would love to see that. And these kids go from out of the frying pan into the fire. Maybe she sees Santa Claus. I'd be scared. No. There you go. They ain't the lamp before time. Ain't them. Of course, we have one of the more probably the of the scenes in the film is might be the one that's the most talked about. The whole kitchen scene. That's also the thing about the Lost World is that you had this whole scene with the raptors, and then they do it again in the sequel, and it just didn't seem as good when you compare the two, because of course they figure out how to open doors. Here you go. Click. Too productive, but you can't come in. Well, I guess he is coming in. Fuck this shit. But yeah, you look at the second one, it's like, okay, it's the Raptors again, but they're in the fields, or in this like abandoned compound type of. I forget what the specifically to call that area at the end, where again the girls doing these gymnastics. Well, I said the CGI in this wasn't. It still looks pretty decent. Like I said, you can very much tell between the practical and the digital, and the practical to me is much more impressive. But that's the thing is that if you don't use digital, like they're using a lot of practical. Like you see the feet, the heads here. That's all done in camera, which helps filter in the illusion that these things are real and within this very same kitchen these kids are. And CGI, I mean, have been around for a bit of time. I mean, the young Sherlock Holmes, technically some bits in Tron, The Last Starfighter, among other movies. Computer graphics, they just weren't prevalent in the 80s compared to. This is where they started with the success and what was able to be done in Terminator 2 with the T-1000, and then here, they looked at Terminator 2, they looked at this movie, they go, okay, now it's a whole new realm of effects work where you can really try to utilize as much as you can on the screen to come up with what ideas you want. Let's say it's a nice choice that like you have that practical of the lays coming towards the camera, then cut to the digital. So in your mind, you see something real for number one and number two, and even though number three is digital, the one and two seeing it for real still kind of factors your brain to be more connected with the scene. Same done with this. And of course, this Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park brought a new age to the blockbusters. Like the blockbusters of yesteryear in the 80s with films like Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Top Gun and maybe, 70s and 80s James Bond films. And you have films like Ghostbusters and things of that nature. But this entered a new realm where understandably studios wanted that success. We want the success of T2. We want the success, especially of Jurassic Park. It makes it, I mean, biggest film of all time at that time. Oh, these damn door locks. But I was saying, like, my friend Effie, I understand what he meant by, like, in this scene, he's like, I want to see him use the shotgun. I want to see him shoot some of these motherfuckers. I want to see him blow a raptor apart. I can understand that. I knew that wasn't what this movie was because Spielberg just isn't that director, but yeah, and he knows that as well. That's why, again, for him, he rather wish it was like James Cameron. When James Cameron had balls, that is. Nowadays, he wouldn't. But yeah, I would love to see the movie. Sadly, studios are not going to take that chance because, like I said, how many big budget dinosaur films do you have made? And if it's not called Jurassic Park, it's not going to be a hit. 65, again, I haven't seen the film, but that made no money. Yeah. Other than Jurassic Park films, like I said, not much are made. Thank God she was a hacker, because if she was, I don't know, into, I don't know, reading, writing, arithmetic, history, punk, music, flute player, they'd be screwed. They'd be absolutely fucking screwed. Screwed. So thank God she's a hacker. No shit the phones are working. Shawn has glass. I mean, there you go. You think you would have waited to shoot before they got through the glass, but What are you gonna do? That's a cool effect, having all the words reflected on the raptor. That's a cool effect detail. How many times can you say you've kicked a raptor in the face? There you go. Should have had like Jean-Claude Van Damme helicopter kicking raptors in the face. I'd see that movie. I see that movie in a heartbeat. But this year's too busy kicking Lance Henriksen in the face in Hard Target. It's a very fun, year for movies. Like I said, I mean, the blockbuster is more in tone of the CGI blockbusters what we're getting, because after this you had Mission Impossible, Twister, Volcano, Dante's Peak, Independence Day. Like, these were now more of the action adventure movies and not so much the Stallone, Schwarzenegger, those type of action, needing those action heroes. That was the theme. Or now is about the event, the spectacle. How much spectacle can we have for the audience? So the world is ending. The Roland Emmerich films. I say Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow and all, Twister, natural disaster films. Some were not hits, Dante's Peak, Volcano. Some were, like Twister. So they all is lost, and how much luck do they have that, lo and behold, this fucking T-Rex just happens to be there. Which I call bullshit on this, but it is what it is. Why did I call bullshit on it? They made it so adamant. Now, of course, back there you see the opening. That's how he got in. But think about, with Jeff Goldblum. He heard that boom, boom, boom. He could hear it. It shook everything. It shook the car. But no one could hear and notice a fucking boom, boom with that going on. Like, no one noticed that? Seriously? Like, no one could hear and feel the tremors of a T-Rex coming? Like, the way it would have played out was, they hear this and the raptors are disturbed. They hear it, the bones are shaking, and then maybe its head goes out of a window, grabs a raptor, pulls it out of the building. Maybe the second raptor goes to investigate. The T-Rex grabs it, pulls it out of the building. The third one doesn't know what to do. But, again, how the hell is it that no one notices, hears, feels the tremors when they made it apparent in that scene with Jeff Goldblum looking at his reflection in the footprint and hearing it, and even before that with the water, with the character seeing the water shake in the vehicle, the Jeep. But it's a movie. It is what it is. Sorry, 0 out of 10. I just I live with it. It's fine, whatever. But it's like, what the fuck? How you explain that? You can't. It just had to be. So a guy who had a little bit of angst about kids, and they're right next to him. And maybe, I do like this film. My type of films is more like Deep Rising with Treat Williams, or stuff where there's the monster, the hero has the monster in his sights and shoots the monster, blows it up, boom. Like War Shattering Jaws, which is one of my favorite Spielberg films. But this isn't that movie. As we're getting to the end of the film. Going off into an onslaught of sequels. Which somewhat, again, this never needed a franchise. I like the third one. I can watch Fallen Kingdom for what it is, but you know, like one film tell you is all you needed. But yeah, with that said, rest in peace, Michael Crichton. He directed a favorite movie of mine, Runaway, with Tom Selleck. I love that film. Deserves a Blu-ray 4K in the U.S. I have a Blu-ray from overseas. Kathleen Kennedy. There you go. Yeah, that's a bad name nowadays. She Who Shall Not Be Named, Kathleen Kennedy. Great cast, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum. Worked well together. Richard Attenborough, may he rest in peace. Bob Peck, may he rest in peace as Muldoon. Did a good job. Martin Ferrero as the lawyer that got eaten. B.D. Wan, again, go figure, he would go on to have a big role in these other ones. Sam Jackson, he'd go on to nothing, right? The two kids, Joseph and Ariana. Dean Cundy, again, cinematographer to a lot of big known movies in the 80s and 90s. Rick Carter, sorry, I don't know who you are. Michael Kahn probably has edited some big films. John Williams, of course. I've heard that Indiana Jones 5 would be his last film he did a composing job for. I don't know if that's true, but if so, that's sad that he's ended it with that one. And there you go. So, that's Jurassic Park. Thanks once again, Shawn. Really appreciate it, man. Take care, everyone, and we will see you later.